Welcome to this week's devotion. I'd like to start off by talking about the idea of trust. And I'd like to draw from Ezekiel chapter 22, verses 29 and 30. And it says this: "The people of the land practice extortion and commit robbery. They oppress the poor and needy and mistreat the alien, denying them justice. I looked for a man among them who would build up the wall and stand before me in the gap on behalf of the land, so I would not have to destroy it, but I found none." In this particular verse, Ezekiel, the prophet, is speaking to the people of Israel, who had been wandering the desert for 40 years, filled with unbelief, acts of rebellion. And I'd like to draw a parallel to current times. I do think that right now we have an awful lot of people, particularly children, that are really wandering and often filled with unbelief, filled with rebellion. And I think, unfortunately, many of these kids have had a trust betrayed in adults that really have been put into their lives by God as folks who should be really responsible, really caring, giving for them. And I think that many kids are unable to trust the adults. It could be their parents, it could be leaders, it could be teachers. And often what they're seeing is hypocrisy on the part of the adults. I think we've got kids that are neglected. I think we've got kids that are abused. And unfortunately, when we have kids that are unable to trust, I think they're much less likely to take risks. And the kids that you have in your classroom, those that are not as trusting, often will hold back. They're being cautious. And when kids aren't comfortable enough to really take chances, take risks, and trust those around them, I think it really thwarts their kind of growth and their development. I think that God has really put us in a position as teachers, in a position of authority, with the possibility to really help kids develop as fully as possible. And just as in this verse, I think God is really searching for those that are willing to stand in the gap, which is what this verse is about. So as we move into this week, I'm going to really encourage you to be that person that really stands in the gap, on behalf of the kids that you're working with. And I think what that means, that idea of being really trustworthy, as a teacher for the kids that you're working with, is simple, but is really complex. I think it's very simple in a sense that certain things need to be in place, if the kids are really going to be able to trust you. First of all, there needs to be an environment that they feel safe, that they feel comfortable in. You need to help create that. I think they need to see you as somebody that's really willing to invest time and energy in planning lessons. They don't see that. They don't know what happens behind the scenes. Parents don't understand it. But I think that time and planning is really critical. I also think being trustworthy, being part of that, is the idea that you really hold high expectations for your students. High but reasonable expectations, in terms of academic expectations, in terms of behavioral expectations as well, too. And I also would say, too, that you just need to generally care, about the students entrusted to you. Students are very intuitive, especially those that have had trust betrayed. They can tell who likes them, who doesn't like them, who truly cares for them. And I think as you consider the students you work with, you're going to recognize there are some that you're maybe just not thrilled to have in class every day. Those are the students I think that we really need to be praying about, and just praying that God would really give us His heart, for them as students. So I think if we have those basic components in place, that idea of creating a safe environment, that idea of really planning for your students, of really holding high but reasonable expectations, of really caring for the students. That's the kind of environment, the kind of situation where students can really trust you as a teacher, and that's when I think their full potential is going to be realized. And that's really what I think of when I think of us on a day-to-day basis, really standing in the gap on behalf of our students. So again, I hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you again here.